Morning, everybody.
How we doing?
That great.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I get it. It's it is Friday morning. Thank you all for carving out some time to join us here today. I'm Sean Steinsmith. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Lawrence. How are you? Fauntleroy. Good. And yeah, we're going to be talking about harnessing AI for education.
Yeah.
And just want to lead us in?
A little bit, yes. So just a quick disclaimer. I have to run, right? I don't want Sean to, I want the audience to know. So
I'll take it personally.
yeah. So I have to run at approximately
2 minutes from now.
10 minutes from now. Okay. But Sean and I have been, many people familiar with Lehman? Right, familiar with Lehman? So Sean and I have been, along with Professor Chowdhury, really at the business school, really trying to implement AI and everything and do as much as we can. So Sean will walk you through what we've been doing to this point. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Absolutely, Lawrence. Thank you. And just a quick background about me. Before you going through all this, I'm not wearing the exact same outfit today, so that's good. I won't bore you with all that, but I'm all about things emerging tech related, and I have been trying to get these things integrated into our courses here at Lehman ever since day one. I was just talking to Lawrence earlier, and a colleague of ours out in the hallway earlier, and I've been advocating for these topics here at Lehman, be it crypto, be it blockchain, be it AI, into these courses ever since I first got here, because one, our students have to know these things, right? Two, as all three presidents were saying earlier, it's already here now, right? It's happening, it's here. And that if our job is to have our students best prepped to work now and to grow in the future, it's our obligation to make sure that all of them are at the very least conversant on these tools. And so basically, I have these presentations kind of structured as a part one, part two, right? Part one is going over how we try to integrate AI and, more importantly, Gen AI into our courses here at Lehman. And just FYI, during this term, Lawrence and I partnered up for our first ever course, focused entirely on integrating Gen AI for business courses. And in that class, I had the opportunity to actually teach it. It was a great time. Our students used ChatGPT, Sora, and a handful of other tools to really integrate it into their business planning practices. So just by a show of hands, have all of you used ChatGPT previously? Okay, good. Kind of, sort of, okay. Okay. But it really is quite a powerful tool, right? I mean, I would say that at this point, that's all pretty obvious, right? AI's here. I'm sure all of you have seen, watched, or heard deepfakes online of all kinds of people saying all kinds of things, which is, on the one hand, funny, also, I think, a bit terrifying. But really, for our point of view as educators, right, we have to focus on, one, how those tools work, two, how they're being used in business, and three, how to teach our students how to correctly use these tools, right? Because AI and these generative AI programs are a lot like the internet or like Reddit, or as quoted earlier, Wikipedia, right? They all have lots of information. They have quote unquote all the answers, but the real value in them is being able to parse through what answers are either incomplete, incorrect, or not applicable, right, for your instance. And I know Lawrence does a lot of work with the entrepreneurial programs. Actually, today he has to leave to host a pitch day competition.
We're doing a pitch competition, and AI is a big part of that pitch competition. I don't know if you guys have heard of Go Zigzag, where you can actually, if you have a business idea, it will take your business idea and flush it out. And so students are really, at that point, students then execute on what the business plan is, and they test it, right? So it gives you market analysis, it creates surveys for you. So there's a host of different tools that students use. And we emphasize the word tools as often as we possibly can. I think the internet is more of an answer engine than it is a search engine these days. And so you have to figure out if that answer is the correct answer. So yeah, Sean, that's what we're using.
No, and I have to personally admit, and I always like to do just some quick background on ChatGPT to just illustrate and show how quickly it's grown. They launched their first model. I forget if it was 3 or 3.5 back in December of 2022. I first logged into ChatGPT. I was actually coming back from a conference. I was at the Las Vegas airport in the morning, so I was totally okay in the morning. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna check it out. And in the airport, in that moment, I was like, wow, this AI program, these large language models are going to change how people get information and how they do things, right? It was that aha moment for me. So I do always like to have a quick background on it and some headlines. Obviously, this job posting, it was a bit frothy. It was part of that first AI bubble that there were firms offering people hundreds of thousands of dollars to do prompt engineering. And basically all that is actually being able to ask ChatGPT questions in the right way. But the anecdote that I always try to make for our students, right, is that any of these large language models, these bots, be it Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Grok, Copilot, the best way to interact with them is to treat them as if you're talking to your lawyer, right? That basically, in order to get the answers that you want in the context that you want, you have to be able to ask them the right questions and the right follow-ups. And so that's really this whole thing on prompt engineering. It's basically teaching students and teaching us how to best get the information out of these bots. Obviously, I don't think that AI is going to accelerate cheating. I think cheating has always happened. Now I know that nobody in this room has ever cheated or hedged their bets on any exam or any context ever, but it does happen. It doesn't happen here at Lehman, obviously. I don't know about Ostos or some of the other colleges. I don't know. Here at Lehman, it doesn't happen.
But with AI, right? There's always that.
Yeah, I know. I was not going to comment on it, but that lady in the pink hat, a bit concerned. But, are we going to be able to catch students that are doing essays, right? And just to be fully transparent, I use ChatGPT, then Gemini, to help me outline article ideas, do research, draft ideas, and then I go in there and I edit, tweak them, update them, all the rest. So I don't think that that's cheating. I do know there are some court cases that are underway right now trying to figure out if you use AI to create certain content, right? Be it a book chapter, be it an article, podcasts are even now able to be generated via AI content. Who actually owns that content and who is and on that, who owns the rights to that content? Also, just anecdotally, if any of you are interested, I am currently part of a project where the book publishers are linked to a, I guess it's a law firm over in the UK. And the whole premise of the project is that after doing interviews with experts in certain areas, they take those questions, our answers, and any external sources we have, right? Our articles, our earlier book chapters, and they feed that into their in-house LLM and then draft a book chapter for an upcoming book. So it's already happening at those levels for us, right? As academics trying to publish, content creation, all the rest. But are we able to actually catch it if our students are trying to just turn in a entirely AI generated essay? The answer is kind of sort of, right? It's really right now a cat and mouse instance. Here are some tools that I found. I've used GPT-0, Originality AI, OpenAI classifier, and I'm trying to get better with using Quillbot in terms of basically using them to catch AI content. All right, Lawrence, thank you. And obviously, every time that these firms update their software or their AI nets, the AI algorithms are always getting better. And I do think that's important to keep in mind too, that for our students, both in the classroom and in the workforce, that any information that's uploaded into these bots, large language models, even at work, that then is out there, right? It's part of how they're trained and then how other people actually get answers out of these AIs. And there have been cases where, as I'm sure all of you have heard, that there have been cases where there are interns, first years, or even more veteran employees who have been fired for accidentally, during a conference call, during a video call, accidentally uploading in-house information or client data. I happen to know anecdotally that a audit manager that I'm friendly with had an intern working for him. And this happened back, I guess it was last spring. And the audit intern, it was all going well, doing well, but then that intern somehow got into ChatGPT past the corporate firewall, accidentally uploaded some in-house data into ChatGPT, then got fired. So it's a real risk. And I've found that just in anecdotal conversations that quite a few people don't really understand that point yet, right? That they are treating these models, these bots, almost like a Google or a Bing or a search engine. But it isn't quite like that, because all of the answers given, also just quick on that, there is this initiative out of OpenAI, basically ChatGPT EDU. I've started doing some homework on this myself. I know that the State University system out in California has partnered with this effort and is basically in the midst of rolling out AI-based programs at all of their individual campuses. I don't know too much more on it yet, but I am doing some homework on it as we speak. And then just in terms of, okay, so how do we try to teach with this stuff, right? Actually, obviously, top effort here for any written content. I either run it through or I have the students run it through that. First, proctoring software, that only works as well as anything else works in terms of proctoring. I personally haven't ever been a huge fan of that, right? Because if you have the proctoring software on their laptop, they'll have their tablet next to them, or on their tablet, they'll have their phone next to them. So I haven't ever been a big believer in that. But the big sort of tactic that I've been using, and it's obviously easier for in-person or for online synchronous classes, is to try to make it as personalized as possible. I think I have some examples. Yeah, okay. And I'll come to that in a second. But as I'm talking here for a second, there are some other options out there for plagiarism, which has always been a issue. So AI in that sense isn't really creating new issues for us to solve. It's just updating how we have to solve. And Turnitin, Copy Leaks, Grammarly have all integrated AI into their platforms too, to help us catch AI created content. But and in the upcoming session, in a few minutes, we're going to actually walk through how, as these software plagiarism tools are updating how they catch AI content. ChatGPT, just for instance, has two options to help you humanize AI content. Then you can actually give it examples of your writing, and then have the AI, ChatGPT, humanize the AI output using your articles as a baseline for tone, style, and actual content. So right now it is really back and forth, cat and mouse style, some more proctoring software is there. But basically, in terms of how to actually try to have our students think critically, because I think the biggest risk from a student point of view is that it's so easy and so intuitive to use ChatGPT, Copilot, Bard, Grok, Gemini, any of them, to actually get the answers and to get full-on essays. You can get analytics, PowerPoint presentations, anything out of these AI programs. That the biggest risk, I think, isn't the AI tools themselves. It's that our students and us, frankly, aren't going to have or build that sort of last mile in intellectual capacity, right? Being able to understand, to reason, and to analyze data in real time in conversations, right? Because ultimately, you know, even if we're all on Zoom or on Teams or, doing things hybrid style, quite a bit of business, right? Be it education, be it business deals, sales, all the rest happens in person. And I always tell my students that if you're on site at a client, your manager, and they're asking you questions on the output, on the project, on the product, but you have to be able to have that one knowledge and two the ability to analyze their questions in real time and to answer them. Because ultimately, if you aren't able to have those conversations in person, what are they paying you for? Right? That if all you're doing is basically leaning on AI to create all your work product and you aren't able to actually talk about it, then frankly, your employer isn't going to need you. And then there are some articles I have here focusing on these topics, including, AI, blockchain, and crypto. I won't force you all to read these because I have to say I did write all of them. So just a quick, self little promo there. I won't talk about those anymore. But so right here, there are some real world use cases and applications, and basically every single company that our students want to work for, right? Either in the city, in the 5 boroughs, or outside. All of them are integrating AI, right? Even companies like I was just reading the other day, actually Nike is integrating AI into how they are making and then modifying every new series of Air Jordans, going forward. Now, Air Jordans are already a well-known, profitable product, but having that AI integration to help the company analyze in real time what colors, styles, combos are trending in certain areas, then and building on that, they're able to modify their existing production capabilities on the fly. And so that's really where I try to highlight the opportunities for our students outside of the sort of obvious ones, analytics, image creation, content creation. If you're able to sort of layer the AI analytics and the real-time outputs on top of other tools, be it Internet of Things, 3D manufacturing, blockchain technology, that's honestly where the real upside of AI is. Because ultimately, AI is only as good as the information that it has and the prompts that it's given. So if you're able to overlay them, connect them, whatever you want to say, with other tools like that, then it becomes a lot easier to actually see the upside of it. And ultimately, that's where I try to focus any conversations with my students. And Lawrence and I, my colleague going to leave, he and I had the opportunity to actually be part of 2 events last fall, put on by the Big Four. And the Big Four are the big audit firms, the big tax firms, big employers. Actually, I think it was Deloitte just earlier this week signed an 800,000 square foot lease down at Hudson Yards. So big employers in the city and overall. Both of those conferences hosted by Deloitte and KPMG, 2 separate firms. The main focus was on how they are trying to build AI in-house and the expectations of new hires to understand and to use AI. So that is more and more becoming one of those competencies that really is the sort of make or break in terms of hiring and then how our students and then their employees grow and develop at the firm. And in my upcoming presentation, we're going to actually dive into a few of these. We're going to dive into Gemini, Notebook LM, and ChatGPT to actually walk through some of the things I've been doing. But there are any number of options here. I really like Claude AI in terms of building out business forecasts, simulations, and then depending on the courses you're teaching, it can help with building sites without coding. There is one caveat that I always like to highlight. If you are trying to use any of these models to code, odds are the code isn't going to be totally correct. Again, highlighting the fact that you're either going to have to run it through different models like Claude, Grok, GPT, and then have those basically tested to see which one works. Or conversely, you or the student is going to still have to have that knowledge to know how to fix it. But it can do a big chunk of that heavy lifting for you. And the top one up here, Go Zigzag. Have all of you heard of I don't know how to say it, incubator known as Y Combinator? Big time combinator out in the valley out west. Every business model and idea they've ever gotten, they pulled into this. And so if you're doing classes in entrepreneurship or you have a entrepreneurship track in your class, your students have the option to plug in any business idea, be dog walking, car wash, cannabis shop, whatever they want to do, into that model and build it out and edit it in real time. So that's really, really helpful, I think.
You got like 10 minutes.
Okay, got 10 minutes left. Okay, so then I'm going to open up the floor for any questions or comments or any jokes about me.
I got it.
Yes.
That's not a joke about it.
Oh, let's do that actually.
So, I kind of when I look at when I think about AI, of course, you know, we're from the Google generation,
Mhm.
right? We were brought up on doing searches.
Yep.
Right, you put in a term and you hit enter and you get 1 billion different things, right? And you got to pick you only pick the first page.
Mhm.
Okay. So now I find myself, if I have a question or I have an issue, I do less Googling
Mhm.
and I do a little bit more of the chat.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, you know, with respect to Googling or doing a web search, you had these, and I forget what they call them, these attributes of a web search. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Is with
Yep.
relevancy, timeliness, accuracy, right? You had to evaluate that.
Sure.
How does AI change those?
So in terms of how it changes them,
Yeah.
there is no change being made. That's one of the items that if you're doing research on a highly technical topic or on a highly timely topic, that is a ongoing, I would not say issue, but it's an area where you have to look at it, right? To make sure that just for instance, I do a lot of work with crypto assets also. And so if I'm searching on ChatGPT or on Grok about Bitcoin prices,
Why
right?
don't you search on Google?
Because
Because
to be totally honest with you, I think the quality of the output on Google has dropped dramatically
right.
over the last 5 years and especially the last year. Honestly, like half the first page, it's all ads,
Right.
sponsored content. So I really don't use it too much anymore.
But you have to concern yourself now with relevancy, accuracy, timeliness when you're in this AI environment. Because like you said, AI is not perfect. You have to know what you're getting.
Yes, absolutely.
It does make errors.
Yeah. So the main upside there is that the trade-off that I always talk about with AI is that if it can save me 80% of the research or of the brainstorming or of the outlining or the editing, then I can handle the other 20%, having to parse through it, having to pull out certain resources that either are incorrect or out of date. So it is not perfect. I personally think it's a great time-saving tool. And I know Lawrence always talks about AI as a good intern, right? They're energetic, motivated, will answer every question that you have for them with absolute certainty. But it's up to you to go over their work to make sure that it's relevant, complete, and up to date. Isn't a perfect tool, but I personally find that it's a lot that it gets me to the place that I want to go. Then again, I'm pretty agnostic, as far as the actual tool goes. I find that they do get me to where I want to go, the answer or the idea or the outline of the idea a lot faster than Bing, Google, or any other, uh, search portal. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, I have a few questions. I have one pedagogical question and a couple technical questions. So the pedagogical question is following up on what you just said.
Oh, geez. Okay.
How does the student develop the skills to identify for research without doing research themselves first?
Yeah, no, and if I had the answer for that, I'd make it into a course and I'd be selling it, right? But no. But the actual answer there is that, it isn't really all that much different from how we try to talk to our students about if you're doing a research paper on battery powered plants, battery powered cars, EVs, whatever, that if you're doing that research paper or you're making the presentation, there are lots of podcasts, YouTube videos, Instagram reels, TikToks, Reddit posts on that topic. But if you're doing research for a client or for our class, that's all fine, right? But you do have to rely on sources that are more authoritative, right? Be it out of government sources, corporate sources, think tanks, research institutes. So in that sense, it isn't all that much different, but it does, I feel, turbocharge all of those issues, right? Because in the past, if I was Googling something on Bitcoin or on EVs, right, I could find some really interesting things on Reddit, on TikTok, Insta, all the rest. But then I would have to go through, watch them, read them, analyze them, and then actually create. Now, using these tools, those tools go through, you grab those sources possibly, and then actually do the content for me. So it really isn't changing those conversations. It's more just turbocharging the implications of it. I think anyway.
So the technical questions are just about the AI detection capacity of Turnitin. I was under the impression that CIS elected not to contract with Turnitin to add that in Brightspace.
So I don't know anything about that. That's above my pay grade.
I got you on that one. I work helping people learn Brightspace. We actually, over at Bronx Community College, Turnitin has been integrated into the system. At first it was a separate tool, but now whenever you create an assignment, you basically go to the submission box and just hit a check mark and be like, okay, check if it's Turnitin and all that stuff. And it still has the little interface that you can use to set up assignments that are specifically for Turnitin, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, I know how to use Turnitin in Brightspace. What I'm saying is that I don't think that CIS contracted to have the AI detection tools incorporated into the version that is in Brightspace. So I was just sort of curious about that because I thought that at the time the rationale was that AI detection is not reliable. And hence the system doesn't want to present a tool that people might think is reliable, but it's not actually reliable. So I guess in a sense, it's sort of like this veers into a pedagogy question because as you pointed out, it's a bit of a guessing game and you kind of have to use a lot of tools in your own judgment.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that turned into not a question.
One idea that I've been using is that I'll actually tell the students, right, openly, use ChatGPT. You do the research paper, make the PowerPoint within AI. I don't care. But in class, I'm going to ask you questions during a 5-minute presentation on that research. And so then at the very least, they have to go through and to read and to make their own notes on the output. So I mean, that's one way that I've been trying to test their at least understanding of the content, being turned in. Obviously, that tactic is not always going to work for every class. And do you have a question there?
I just wanted to make a comment.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Susan Light, Director of IT Support Services here at Lehman. And I'm part of the LMS transition team for Brightspace, and I'm responsible for training. I wanted to speak to your point about the AI detection. So central office is looking into that, so they don't have a decision on, how that will be, but they are looking into, like you said, it's not always accurate. So they are doing an assessment, and once they have more in a decision, we will also share that information to the colleges.
Also, I want to add one thing because I just popped open a Turnitin assignment. Yeah, it is. I'm not seeing anything here about specifically AI detection, mostly just comparing it against existing stuff. So yeah, I guess it's up in the air for now. At least that's how it is for BCC. I don't know how Lehman's gonna roll with it.
Moot, did you have a question?
Yeah, actually, I wanted, is on this topic, what's the process you use? So let's say you get an assignment
Mhm.
and you say to yourself, okay, I want to check it against either Turnitin
Mhm.
and or the AI detection
Mhm.
software or those.
Mhm.
My question is, how do you do it? And let's say if you have found something,
Mhm.
how do you go back to the student and what's that conversation like if they have done something? How do you
Yeah, sure.
handle that?
Yep, so actually just had this happen, right? That I had assigned my students in a advanced accounting theory class, right, to do a paper. Short paper was, I think, 500 words on any emerging accounting topic. So items like lease accounting, tax accounting, all very exciting topics, I'm sure. But and so I had them do that, and I told them that on this assignment, don't use AI, right, for this assignment, because they had used it previously, and I had told them to, use it, draft it, talk about it. This one I was like, okay, do this on your own, 500 words, upload it. So got one assignment, right? And it was obvious that it was AI created, right? Because there was no tone to it. It was just straight facts. And the formatting was off, so it was a bit laziness also, but which I understood. So I ran it through Grammarly.ai, and then it gave me a output document, and it had certain areas of the text highlighted, and then pointed AI generated whatever. And then so I emailed back the student with the paper they had turned in, output document I got, and asked them to walk me through why it was flagged as AI created if it's not. So that was on Tuesday. I still haven't heard back, so I'm gonna have to follow up with that student.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process, and it's going to be like the internet first coming into classrooms, online courses first coming into classrooms. So just anecdotally, if all of us have students in online asynchronous classes, do any of us know with 100% certainty that our students are doing all the work? No, right? So any of these issues around AI aren't new at all. The applications are new, and the pace at which the issues can be created is exponentially faster. But the issues themselves are not new. Yes, ma'am.
You can, but they can't explain it.
Yeah, well, if it's an online asynchronous class, there are some classes where there isn't too much live interaction though. Or for instance, if I'm doing a asynchronous class that has 85 students in it, I might have some meetings with 20 students, 30 students during the semester during optional office hours, but I can't make them come, right? Because the whole point of the class is it's online asynchronous. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm teaching online asynchronous math, and I'm having a meeting this evening with a student that I think used AI for their discussion, and I got them to agree to the meeting by giving them a 0 and telling them.
Yeah, that's thick, right? Carrot and stick never change.
I just want to state that I've been to so many AI things. LaGuardia College, Elizabeth Clark, who's a writing instructor, uses the writing tool, the collaborative writing tool, the Google Docs.
Okay.
And she has the students, if they're going to use AI, they have to cite it like a secondary source. And then she can tell if they've thrown chunks of text into the Google Doc. And she automatically can say, hey, I noticed there's this big piece of your paper that you threw into the Google Doc. And she looks at the process and, she sees that they can do a little bit and then they add, but I mean, that I thought was the best solution to this issue of the writing assignment at least.
Yes. Yeah.
To see.
Yes, and how we doing for time?
Oh, we're good. I think we're talking about 5 more minutes.
Okay, cool, perfect.
Yeah, your next presentation is yours, so you can do whatever you want.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it's me. So all of you are now in here with me. Okay, yes.
Yes, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So I think the assumption with business and somebody on the outskirts of it is that like the students and educators are excited to use AI. But I'm kind of curious if you have any advice for students or educators who, especially in business, who may be purists and feel like, there should be limitations with how we use technology. How would you encourage them to explore AI and even implement it in their teaching?
No, sure. No, and so I would say that the most direct answer to that question was the sort of visceral reaction when DeepSeek launched back in January. And as some context there, DeepSeek is, and I won't get into the politics of it, but it was understood to be a Chinese created clone of OpenAI's ChatGPT, right? And so that caused a lot of pushback very, very quickly, both on the policy level and at the corporate level, in terms of, hold on, let's all, pause for a minute here and try to understand how these AIs are actually being developed, who owns the AIs, and then ultimately the end game or the end point of all of this information being collected and analyzed by these AI companies. So for firms that are concerned about AI, right? So I'm going to go off on a CPA tangent for a minute, right? I'm a CPA by background, very exciting stuff. But a ongoing issue for us, right, in the field is the pipeline issue, namely that the average age of the American CPA keeps going up, right? And the number of students who were enrolled in accounting programs taking the exam has been dropping. It's on the uptick now, but for a while it was dropping. And so firms were investing heavily into AI, right? I was just mentioning earlier, right? Deloitte, KPMG, both of them had conferences this year whose whole focus was on integrating AI to help alleviate some of that staffing shortage. But here's the problem. How do service firms bill? By the hour, right? Accounting firms, lawyers, engineers, architects, medical doctors, in some cases, bill on an hourly basis. If you, as the managing director, the partner, the VP, automate more and more and more processes, you don't need as many people. So quite good for you. Your headcount issue is solved. Good for you. But then how do you, at that level, justify your own needs out to your clients who are also using AI to automate their own internal processes? So at a certain point, there is this margin compression that is coming to pretty much every industry. And that's the biggest headache that I'm just starting to hear more about, that, hey guys, listen, if all of us are automating all of this stuff and we have AI doing all this content creation, fraud work, credit work, writing articles for us, then how can we charge people our rates, right? Because everyone's doing it. Everyone knows everyone's doing it. But so that next piece of that conversation hasn't yet happened. So that's the biggest sort of headwind I'm seeing. Isn't really like a mainstream topic yet because it hasn't hit too much, but just a quick example of that, which went under the radar, Sports Illustrated, right? Last year, fired all of their in-house writing team. All of their articles are now written by AI. So that's already happening. Yes.
With now AI doing pretty much, we do some classes with foreign born people that come to the US.
Sure.
These are businesses.
Yep.
And before it was really difficult for them to catch up with.
Mhm.
Now with AI, they're able to build up their business plans, logos, build websites, write pretty much marketing campaigns.
Mhm.
But still based on your presentation, what do you think the business schools be teaching for people or students to be valuable in the market? Because right now AI is doing creative, technical coding, even sales automation and all that. So what do you think on that?
Sure. So I'm gonna answer that question, but I have a question for the audience first. Did any of you watch the show Suits? In its original run, not the current one based in LA, which is garbage, but the current one that aired back, I don't know, 2015-ish era. No? Yes, no? Okay.
Yeah.
It was the one that had what's her face, Meghan Markle in it for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, there we go. Okay. So the whole premise of that show, to be quick, is that Mike Ross, one of the main characters, basically got to cheat because he was able to memorize everything. The whole premise of that show is impossible now, right? Because having somebody with that encyclopedic knowledge of the entire US law code isn't necessary anymore because AI is doing that right now.
Mhm.
And so the biggest thing that I always try to highlight, and I can only control, right, the individual courses I teach, but I do always try to push this, is that the real sort of value that is going to be paid for in the marketplace going forward isn't going to always be around what you know, right? In terms of your individual technical expertise. You always have to have that baseline foundation to answer questions, to ascertain whether the answers being given to you are correct. But the true value is going to be, one, translating these answers or these outputs into things that our clients can understand, they can do things with, and two, being able to connect the output, be it the marketing campaign, be it the research, be it the podcast, be it the market imagery, whatever, and to then bridge that gap between this automatic or AI output to other areas, and to sort of make it applied and to make it have a business, to have it be actionable business insights. That's the real thing.
Follow-up question on
Yeah.
that. What would be your recommendations of what skills should business students or entrepreneurship students to be honing in based on everything that's coming up with AI?
Yeah.
So what they should focus on?
Sure. So if I had to recommend my top 2 or 3 things to have any entrepreneur students, business students focus on, is to, one, figure out which of these AI tools is most applicable for your field, right? Are you in a technical field? Are you in a marketing field? Are you in a content creation field, right? And so find the tool that's best for you, right? 2, use it, right? Figure out how to use it, master it, and then have that help you build out your portfolio of either work, content, or research. And then after that, figure out how to get people, be it customers, be it your boss, be it all the rest, to understand that you're able to do the work of either a whole marketing team, a whole content team, or a whole audit team on your own, and then basically pitch yourself as that person to be able to bridge that gap between doing the technical work and actually telling them what all of this noise means for their business, right? Because ultimately, audits and I always use accounting, right, as my background, right? So our clients never actually paid us for the audits or for doing income taxes. What they paid for is, okay, after all of that noise and stuff, which honestly, they aren't interested in, and honestly don't actually care about. What they're paying you for is, okay, after all that, what am I going to do differently in the future to either avoid the issues or to make more money? So that's what I always try to have. Our cat there, we have to split the recording. Okay, so Thank you. There's more though, don't worry, there's more.
You say, is it fair to say that